Hi guys, and welcome to the Minsanity Podcast. Today's guest has been well known in the mineral hobby for decades and was a producer of mineral shows around the country for 37 years. He's known as one of the nicest guys in the hobby and is well known at all mineral shows and clubs around the country. Marty Zinn, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Phil. I'm glad to be here, and thank you for all the nice things you said about me.
Oh, of course.
Some of which were true.
Well, Marty, you're a pretty well-known character in the mineral world these days, but I think one thing that folks may not know about you is your background, and in particular, how your mother was an influential figure in your life when it comes to mineral collecting. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
When I was 11 years old, my mother and stepfather purchased a large number of minerals from a bartender in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
And that was mostly minerals from the A.L. Flagg collection in Arizona.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that kind of started the family getting interested in the mineral hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I was able to take lessons on cutting, polishing, and finding agate.
Oh, wow.
So field collecting agate when I was living there in Las Vegas at age 11 and 12. So that's kind of the beginning. My parents, my mother really was the mineral collector, and she continued collecting until the day she died.
Wow. Yeah. And then you subsequently moved to Dallas and spent time in Texas, correct? And so you and her were sort of collecting together
Absolutely.
for a while then. Yeah. Neat.
She had moved back to Dallas while I was in the Army.
Okay.
And when I returned out and got off active duty, I moved in with her in Dallas, and we unpacked the mineral collection.
Okay.
That was fun.
Oh, I bet. Seeing all those things. So you're pretty well known as a mineral show producer around the country and have been doing shows for many years. And similar to being a mineral dealer, I think most people don't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to be a mineral show producer. Tell me what led you to that and sort of what the journey was like getting into mineral shows.
In the gold rush in California, they had a real problem with people getting shanghaied, was the term.
Okay.
And that meant that the crew of a ship that was about to sail went into the bars the night before sailing and stole warm bodies and put them on the ship.
Uh-oh.
And then the ship sailed, and they had been shanghaied. They had to serve on the ship till it got to Shanghai.
Yeah, okay.
Well, that's what happened to me. I was shanghaied by a guy by the name of Tom Palmer and his associate, which was one of my favorite dealers, Harvey Gordon.
Yeah, Tom Palmer was a big wholesale dealer as well.
He had an independent mineral show company.
Okay.
And he was set up in the Travel Lodge as a satellite show here in Tucson for many years. But Tom and Harvey said to me, Marty, we're going to start a satellite show in Denver, and we need somebody who's there who can go check out things for us. Would you help us out? What they really meant was, Marty, would you please run a mineral show in Denver under our name, and we will pay you, or we will compensate you for your work.
Okay.
And what they meant was you get nothing the first year, and you get less than $1,000 the second year.
So you were essentially a volunteer at the start.
I was shanghaied.
Yeah, you were shanghaied.
Yes. And that led to the East Coast Gem and Mineral Show, which led to the dealers coming to me and saying, hey, the Desert Inn is being shut down. Find us a place where all the mineral dealers could go, which I was able to do. And I really have just continued on.
Yeah. Well, that's a service, obviously, to the dealer and the collector community. And as you know, at big shows like Tucson and Denver and other places, mineral specimens, collector quality mineral specimens, are often a relatively small part of the show. So, your company, MZ Expositions, for years was sort of the center of gravity for the mineral specimen dealers.
Thank you for saying that. That's a nice compliment.
Absolutely.
And I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah.
And I admit that I actually made a profit some years.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's the idea.
Well, it was, yes.
Yeah.
But it also gave me, really what I got out of it was an association and a close relationship with hundreds and hundreds of people in the industry, dealers, curators, teachers.
Yeah.
It was miners.
Yep.
It really exposed me and to so many people that I'm still enjoying the heck out of it today. One of my favorite stories involves a gentleman by the name of Jim Ferguson and his wife Marge and their daughter.
Okay.
And we were part of the Mineralogical Association of Dallas when it started, and one of our field trips took us to Malden Mountain in Arkansas.
Okay.
And we dug and dug on Friday, and we dug on Saturday, and Sunday morning I got up and said, bullshit, I'm not going to find anything. So I put on my street clothes.
Yeah, exactly.
Drove out to say goodbye to everybody. And Jim Ferguson's daughter had uncovered a vein.
Okay.
And here I am in my dress clothes,
Yep.
not work clothes.
Yep.
And I went up and took part of that vein and covered myself with dirt and mud in order to collect a couple of Arkansas wavelites.
Wow.
And Jim Ferguson never forgave me for getting his daughter's mineral specimens out of that vein, but she had plenty.
Of course.
But I was covered with mud. And,
dress pants on and nice shoes and covered in mud. That's great. Who were some mentors of yours? Your mother obviously was an influential figure, but...
Absolutely. My mother started me mineral collecting, no question. Other people that influenced me would include Herb Duke, who was a show promoter for the Duke shows.
Yep, Danny Duke's father. Yep.
Danny's father. Cal Graber, Wayne Light, Donna Light.
Yep.
There were so many that I really can't name them all.
Yeah.
But when I went to a mineral show, I was treated so nicely by so many of the dealers that I just felt like part of the community and stayed in it.
Yeah, well, that's what it's all about. And thankfully, some of the folks you just named are still with us and are still doing shows and are here in Tucson. So, I was very fortunate in the same way to have mentors and folks that took me under their wing growing up and getting into minerals. And I hope that sort of mentorship, continues in the hobby. I think it will, but it's very important.
Absolutely. I failed to mention a few of my Denver mentors. When I moved to Denver in 1982, I was welcomed by a man who's no longer with us by the name of Joe Key.
Okay.
Dave Bunk.
Yep.
And Heinz Eckert, who's long gone, had mineral shop on Colfax.
Eckert Mineral Research.
Mineral Research.
Yeah.
Victor Yount was working for him at the time.
Okay, wow.
As was Bill Banks and just all sorts of people that just made me comfortable in the mineral hobby.
So Marty, a lot of the collectors that are alive today have heard of the Desert Inn in legend, but they were not around for that experience. And rumor has it that you were actually a dealer back in the Desert Inn days, and that sort of led you into your Tucson show producing journey. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I had the honor of being a dealer, sharing a room with Don Zawater, and it was room 107.
Okay.
So we had a great deal of collector traffic, and it was a great location, and the Desert Inn kept getting worse and worse and worse. One year, I accidentally left a beer flat with 12 minerals under the bed and left it there. And sure enough, when I got back a year later, it was still there.
Wow.
True story.
Wow.
The transition out of the Desert Inn was forced because the fire department condemned it. So we had to find a new place to go.
Yeah. Okay.
So
wow.
Wayne Thompson and his henchmen cornered me one day and said, Marty, you're doing a great job in Denver and in Springfield. Why don't you find us a new home here? Because we're getting moved out of the Desert Inn.
Okay.
And sure enough, I went out and went over and found the executive end and a wonderful, wonderful woman by the name of Bobby Seaman.
Okay.
And she was the manager of the hotel, not the owner, but the manager.
Okay.
And I said, can I see the manager? And I walked into her office, which was in the lobby. And I said, I'm Marty Zinn, and I do mineral shows, or I'm doing mineral shows. I'm looking for a location for a group of dealers.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, thank God, I've been trying to figure out how to get a mineral show at the executive inn.
Wow.
Can you help me get one?
Yeah.
I said, oh yeah, I can help you.
Wow.
So sure enough, the executive inn became the new location.
Okay.
And everything that grew from that.
Yeah. Wow.
What happened in that point is that I would go around and show the floor plan to the other dealers of the executive inn, and they would choose a spot. And I came up with a contract and signed up the dealers at the desert end to move over to the executive inn. Yeah. Well, I still had more rooms to fill, so I went to the Travel Lodge and I offered dealers at the Travel Lodge to move in with all the mineral dealers.
Okay, yeah.
So,
wow.
Bobby Seaman had authorized me to fill 50 of her rooms.
Okay.
And 3 days later, I went back and I said, Bobby, I have a problem. Can you give me 50 more rooms? Because everybody wants to move.
Everyone wants to be there, yeah. Wow.
And it ended up, I got most of the dealers from the Desert Inn, most of the dealers from the Travel Lodge, and quite a few of the fossil dealers who were at the Pueblo.
Yeah, wow.
And we literally filled the executive. We used up every space, including the ballroom and the lobby.
Wow.
And that was for openers.
Yeah.
So
wow.
There was overflow. Other people wanted to come, and we ended up getting another hotel across the street called the Quality Inn.
Okay, yeah.
So the Quality Inn became the fossil show.
So you had satellite shows then, sort of around.
I had the two shows in the same area.
Yeah. Wow.
And as things progressed, I was approached by a salesperson from the Ramada Inn, which was at St. Mary's and Main Street, which is now, or was, the Hotel Tucson, became the Hotel Tucson City.
I was about to ask how that started.
That was down the road. The sales rep from the Ramada comes to me and says, can we get you to take over our mineral show, take over the hotel for the mineral show? They had a promoter there that was using the ballroom space, but not a single room.
Oh, wow.
And this promoter was also using their shuttle service to a major extent without paying for it. So between losing money on the shuttle and losing money because they couldn't sell sleeping rooms, they were very unhappy. And I signed a contract with them, and the guy who was the promoter ended up suing them, but I don't know if he won or lost.
Yeah, probably lost.
In either case, I did expand to the Hotel Tucson City Center.
And what year was that roughly that the in-suites?
You're challenging me now.
That's okay. It was 20 years ago? Yeah.
Yeah.
At least. Yeah, yeah. And then really, when I started coming to Tucson, the in-suites, or the Hotel Tucson City Center as it became, was really that was the center of the mineral business and mineral collecting in Tucson.
It became a social event.
Yes.
The courtyards, the swimming pool, the tent outside, having lunch. It became a pleasant experience for people to go visit all of these dealers on the ground floor and then eventually on the second floor.
Yep.
And it was where to meet your friends.
It was the center of the community. And I think it's important that folks remember that shows are a place to buy minerals, but they're also a place to meet your friends, to have meals, to, socialize, it's the social aspect of shows is very important. And in the age we live in today, where mineral collecting is very much moving to the internet, I think it's really important that shows have that influence and have those communal spaces where people can hang out.
One of the keys to the success of the hotel shows is people felt like they could go from room to room to room to room and see what's new and what's different. and without having to go downtown and
Yep.
park and go through the difficulty of an exhibit downtown.
Yep.
So the hotel shows, besides the social aspects, did offer an opportunity to see what's going on in terms of availability of minerals.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I compliment Graham Sutton and Scott Worski on Mineral City, because now Mineral
Yeah.
City offers the same opportunity.
Yeah.
If you go through the buildings in Mineral City in a week's time, you're incredibly educated on what is on the market, what is not on the market,
100%.
and
Yeah.
what the values are, and who's bringing out what, and
Yep.
who's overpriced, and who's giving away things.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad you mentioned that. That's a nice compliment to Graham and Scott. And, they've worked hard to create a quality show, and also now to build that community element like you had at the Inn Suites. That's starting to happen. So I think things can only go up from here.
I'm very, very pleased about Mineral City.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also pleased that I retired before Mineral City. My
Yes.
favorite saying these days,
Uh-huh.
as an ex-show promoter,
Yeah.
my favorite saying is, "It's not my problem anymore."
Well, enjoy that.
Yes, I am, believe me.
Yeah. Well, as a show producer, it's a long list of job description, and there's no task that you're not gonna do or not gonna, things you're gonna have to see.
Absolutely.
So.
It really is. You have to
Yeah.
be a human relations expert.
Yep.
You have to be a draftsman. You
Yep.
have to be an advertising executive. You have to
Mhm.
be a parking lot executive manager. You have to be a traffic cop to make sure everybody does park in the parking lot.
Yeah, of course.
It goes on and on.
Yeah. Well, and I imagine as a collector too, it was probably a lot of fun getting sort of early access at times to new material and dealers setting up and getting to have a peek in somebody's room and just, seeing what's there. And that's the fun of being at any mineral show, but especially when you're kind of in the inside track.
You mean I got to see the guys that set up and not let other people in? There was not
Yeah.
actually that much of that.
Yeah, okay.
There was not that much
Okay.
of that.
Well,
During
you were busy, obviously. You're running around. You can't just go shopping. You have stuff to do.
beyond belief.
Yeah.
People learned not to bother me during setup.
Yeah.
There was so much tension and so many problems coming up during
Yeah.
setup,
Oh, I'm sure.
so many questions, that the dealers basically avoided me and hoped I would stay away from their booth.
Okay.
So, but every
Yeah.
now and then I did get something that was early bird
Sure.
special.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the hotel shows, are still very much with us, but now we have things like Mineral City where it's a bit of a different model to where dealers have the space year round. And, at that time, the vast majority of mineral shows were hotel shows. So I'm sure part of your job involved being a liaison between the hotel management, the companies, and then, the dealers and trying to keep those gears greased, so to speak.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you had to be a legal expert and have at least one lawyer on call,
Mm-hmm.
because the hotel owners
Yeah.
wanted more money all the time.
Oh, I'm
So
sure.
you had to get a contract and
Yeah.
enforce that contract.
Yeah.
I did go. The skills are not extremely high level,
Mm-hmm.
but they're so diversified
Exactly.
in order to produce a show.
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of, there's always been sort of a natural tension at times, if you will, between the dealers on the one hand and the producer, promoter on the other hand. But I think a lot of dealers don't realize that, it's a labor of love. It's not, nobody goes into being a mineral show producer to get rich. And also, you're trying to, on the one hand, balance the needs of the hotel that wants more money and then the needs of the dealers who want to, keep it as reasonable as possible.
I have a set of 20 rules of being a show producer.
Mm-hmm.
The first rule is, do not offend all of the dealers at the same time.
Yes.
And part B of that is, if you are a show producer
Yep.
for long enough, you will eventually offend all of the dealers.
Yeah. Okay.
Try not to do it all at once.
Yeah.
And the dealers typically accepted my decision-making process because at least they could get a decision. They didn't have to go back to the committee and come back 3 days later.
Yeah.
At least they could ask me a question and I could make a decision. And it was based on business reasons as opposed to emotional reasons.
No, of course, of course. So you have obviously many, many stories of great finds and discoveries, and probably some stories that we can't air on the show about being a show promoter. But maybe humor our listeners with one or two stories about a great mineral discovery, a specimen or a find, or something that came from your years of being in the show business.
In the Holiday Inn in Denver at the Mousetrap, we had a Russian dealer who was under medication and over medicated.
Mm-hmm.
And at about 2 a.m. in the morning, I get a phone call saying, come down to the lobby and get this dealer out of here.
Uh-oh.
And this guy was literally out of his mind. He didn't know where he was, but he had been sleeping naked.
Oh, no.
And
oh, my gosh.
Got out of bed and wandered down to the lobby. And the young lady who was at the front desk took exception to his wandering around the lobby naked. So
wow.
We had to go get him and put him back in his room.
Wow.
He ended up going back to the hospital the next morning.
So switching gears a little bit, something that some folks listening may not know about you is that you were one of the first investors in Brian Lee's Sweet Home Mine project in the early 1990s. Tell us a little bit how you got involved with Brian in that project and what that was like.
I'm going to say about 1980, I got a phone call from Leonard Beach, the owner of the Sweet Home Mine.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to get me to become an investor, and he was going to reopen the Sweet Home Mine and sell rhodochrosite out of the mine. So I invited him to my selling room at the Holiday Inn. We sat down. He presented a prospectus, which was a little notebook showing how he was going to use ground penetrating radar and all of these various methods to find the rhodochrosite.
Yeah.
And as I'm going through the prospectus, he named a particular retail dealer who I will not name.
Of course.
And I told him at that time, I said, you need to find somebody else to sell the rhodochrosite minerals for you. And he was stunned to find out about the bad reputation of this particular individual.
Yeah.
So he asked me who he should contact, and I told him to contact Brian Lee's.
Yep.
And he and Brian reached an agreement and signed a contract for Brian to go in and mine the Sweet Home Mine.
Yeah, wow. And then once that sort of built some momentum, that project, I believe it was 1990, 1991, Brian formed a small investor group, and you were part of that group, correct?
Yes, yes, I was. Myself,
project off.
John Lucking, Gene Myron, Brian, and the mine manager.
Okay. And, you know, like any mining project, the Sweet Home had ups and downs at the start. And mineral specimen mining is very capital intensive. It's very risky. But obviously, the Sweet Home Mine turned out to be a fabulous success after some initial troubles. But what was the experience like for you as a collector, somebody that's loved minerals their whole life, seeing the first table laid out with high quality rhodochrosite?
The highlight of the Sweet Home Mine experience for me was the day that Brian called me and told me to get up to the mine that I needed to see this pocket. It was called the Good Luck Pocket.
Oh, yeah.
And I went up, put on the mining gear and everything and the helmet. And as we are walking down the portal or the walkway toward the pocket, I kept noticing that the sidewalk was covered with red, as in rhodochrosite crumbs.
Wow.
And I went up the ladder, and Brian was ahead of me, and I went up the ladder and went into this pocket.
Yeah.
It was sort of like being in a room like this.
Okay.
But the entire ceiling and walls were covered with huge rhodochrosite ROMs with high luster.
Oh my God.
And the problem was to get anything off the wall or off the ceiling damaged
Of
part of
course.
the crystals.
No, Brian told me when he was collecting that pocket with Graham, he had to take breaks every 30 minutes because he would get a panic attack otherwise. It was so stressful and so high stakes because a great specimen had to be sacrificed essentially for every 2 or 3 that were saved.
Yes.
And a lot of people do not realize that.
Yes. And if he could have pulled everything out without damaging other crystals, there would have been...
Oh, tens of millions today.
Oh, absolutely.
Unbelievable.
But the specimens that came out of the good luck pocket were unbelievable.
They were. And I know you were able to see that and get a few of those, and they're magnificent. And to walk into that and see that pocket must have just been unreal.
But that kind of established Brian Lees as the leader of the gang for people mining for mineral specimens.
Absolutely.
Which has given unlimited opportunities to collectors over the last 20 years.
Yep.
Because now people are going in and buying properties and mining properties just to get mineral specimens. Yeah. To get them onto the market. Absolutely. And I think it's wonderful.
It is wonderful. And, Brian was the first, and I think still is very much the industry leader in specimen mining and is well known for that. So to get to be involved in that must have been a privilege. And I know that you and Brian and Collector's Edge are close and have worked together subsequently. And to sort of lead into the next question, like a lot of collectors, you have built multiple collections, and your specimens are actually disseminated on the market and in collections around the world now. What was it like sort of getting to a point where you decided to part with your first collection, and then what was it like getting back into building a second collection?
I have a disease called collector's gene. And I realized in the early 2000s, I realized that the fun is in the hunt.
Yeah.
The fun is not necessarily sitting in your rock room looking at showcases. Yeah. The fun is in the hunt.
Of course.
Finding something nobody else has. Mm-hmm. 2 days ago, I walked into a room here in Mineral City, and a guy had a huge calcite from a pocket in the cave in Eder Oberstein, Germany.
Wow.
Which I hadn't seen one on the market since I left Eder Oberstein, Germany.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that somebody had brought one of those over.
Wow.
So that's the kind of thing. I'm looking for something unusual. Yeah. The fun is in the hunt.
It is.
As opposed to sitting in your rock room.
It is. Well, and because you've been such a prolific collector for so long, and you sold your first collection through Brian in the early 2000s, collectors all around the world have had a chance to get a Marty Zinn specimen, and your labeling and your note keeping is very meticulous and is well known. So that's also kind of fun, right? To see your specimens all over the world.
And the biggest buyer of the specimens that I sold through Brian in 2005 is me. I have repatriated over 100 of my own rocks. I bought 2 this week.
Well, you liked them the first time, right? So,
yes, still like them.
Yeah, you still like them. Yeah, wow.
But I enjoy sharing them as well.
Yeah, of course. And, you mentioned sharing. That sort of leads to my next question, which is that you're also somebody that's well known for working with museums and supporting mineral museums. Tell me what kind of led you to support mineral museums and what that's been like.
This was absolutely from my mother. Mm-hmm. My mother supported museums seriously during my lifetime. Yep. And in fact, I was managing her finances at one point and contributed toward what minerals that she would give to museums. And I just continued that. I also love to display things in museums. Yes. And have displayed things in Springfield, Massachusetts, the Tellus Museum in Cartersville, Georgia. I have a display right now in the Mines Museum of Earth Sciences at the Colorado School of Mines in Golden, Colorado. Yep. I do very much enjoy sharing the things that I've been lucky enough to find. Yeah, well, it's a great public service, and your collection also is diverse enough that
you can come up with pretty much any suite, and that's a really fun thing as well.
That is.
You get to put these suites together, and the Betty Llewellyn room, which is named after your mother, at the Colorado School of Mines, that she endowed that space.
Yes.
That's had I would think at least a dozen or more of your exhibits over the years. And
I'm looking for a museum now that wants to display epimorphs and paramorphs and pseudomorphs.
Yeah,
that's my latest kick.
I think I know a few. And the theme of Denver next fall is mineral oddities, as you may know. So I
did not know.
You're, as usual, you're right on theme. You're predicting the trend.
Thank you. And I have already committed to exhibiting at the Denver Gem and Mineral Show at the new location.
Yep, the Westin Hotel in Westminster. Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's great. And again, lots of folks in the community know you from either show exhibits or from museum exhibits. And I can tell you, having worked at the Colorado School of Mines Museum, you can see a kid's face light up when they walk into that room and they see all these amazing fluorites, and that's a game changer, and it's really important. And most museums don't have the resources to put together an exhibit like that on their own. So that's where collectors come in.
And thank you again, Phil, for helping me install that exhibit. You were a lifesaver that day.
Oh, that's half the fun. I get to handle the rocks and put them out, and that part is really fun. So these days, you're obviously retired from the mineral show business, so to speak, but you're still very much involved in the hobby. Do you have family members or kids that have taken an interest to minerals at all, or?
My daughter can't wait to take over the collection. But she said I should keep buying things and just have a good time.
Yes.
But my daughter is definitely interested in the mineral collection.
Yep.
And she has a couple of kids that are coming along, and of course they each have mineral collections of their own at this point.
Yeah, of course. Well, I've gotten to meet Jennifer a number of times, and she's a very nice woman, and I can tell she loves minerals. And when I go to see your collection, Jennifer's sub-collection is always a highlight.
It is. It's got better minerals than
I didn't want to say it, but
no, she does.
Her collection.
Well, she had a good mentor.
Yeah, that helps. That helps.
I helped her skip over the little unimportant things and go straight to the important things.
Yeah, that's important.
My favorite story is with Jennifer. Jennifer and I went to the Crown Plaza show a couple of springs ago, and she saw a mineral specimen that she just couldn't believe. It was a legrandite.
Okay.
And it was quite expensive.
Yeah.
And the dealer was trying to sell her on it, and then I said, Jennifer, come on, we'll go to lunch and we can talk about it. As we're having lunch, a guy by the name of Bruce Carter, who is also a serious mineral collector, came into the restaurant, and I asked him to join us for lunch, and he did. And as part of the conversation, Bruce suddenly said, God, did you see that legrandite that Dan Weinrich had? And I said, yeah, I did. It's a nice piece. And he said, boy, I'm sure giving serious thought to that. And Jennifer said, would you excuse me? I've got to go to the bathroom. Jennifer got up from the table, walked all the way around to the exhibit hall, bought the legrandite, and came back to lunch.
That's a true collector. Yes,
she's got the collector gene, absolutely. But as soon as he said that wonderful comment about that mineral specimen, she says, that made up my mind. I'm going to go take care of it.
And Bruce knows his stuff. So
yes, he does.
Yeah.
And he wasn't happy with her later.
Well, he had his chance.
Yes.
Yeah. So, obviously your daughter has had a great mentor and mineral figure in her life with you and your friends. But, for a young collector getting into minerals today, what are maybe a few words of advice you might have as far as ways to approach minerals and ways to learn more about minerals?
Number one, color attracts attention. Color attracts attention. Black and brown minerals are nice, but not as nice as blue, green, yellow minerals. You'll get a lot more pleasure out of colorful minerals. And I would also say skip the $10 rocks and don't buy $10 rocks for 10 times and buy one $100 rock.
Yeah.
I think you're better off to actually spend more than you can afford on the mineral specimen. And it does not hurt to ask the seller if you could possibly get a discount. That's something that we've all, those of us who have been in the business for a long time understand that.
Yeah.
But somebody who's new does not realize that they can say, look, you marked that up and that's your price and I understand, but
can you do a little better? Exactly.
Yeah, can you do a little better? Or what's your best price?
Exactly. I tell all my customers, always ask. It never hurts to ask. The worst thing the dealer says now, but at least you asked. Yeah, I think that's good advice.
So the last thing I would say is try to have a specialty. And the specialty should be, it's pretty for you. You think it's gorgeous. You think it is beautiful. It's got shape, it's got relief, it's got color, it's not damaged. Whatever you're looking at, try to specialize in things that really appeal to you.
Yeah. Well, Marty, the last thing I want to make a plug or an ask for is that you've published a couple books that a lot of folks don't know about. And I know you've only done limited releases of those books, but I think the broader collecting community would love, A, to read some of your stories and reflections on 37 years as a show producer, and B, get to see some of your fabulous minerals. So is there any chance that your books may be released again or available? Or?
Well, regarding the fabulous stories, I'm currently writing a thesis that covers being a show producer over 37 years.
Oh, wow.
And one of the first paragraphs is that rule that I said, never offend the dealers at the same time.
Don't piss the dealers all off at once, yeah.
That's the kind of thing. But right now it's about 20 pages long, and I am adding to it daily. And at some point, yes, I will publish that. I think it's going to be a fun book.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess I could put pictures of good minerals in there,
Yeah, well, we can't wait.
The two that are published now are so outdated. The one was the autobiography.
Yep.
And the second one was the one for my children, telling them what mineral specimens to not sell. So the collection has progressed enough for me to rewrite that book on which one not to sell.
Yep.
Thanks to you and a lot of other dealers.
Well, we try. Well, Marty, thank you. This has been a pleasure.
It's my pleasure.
I really enjoyed it.
I feel very honored that you even asked me to be on the program. I hope I represented the mineral business and the show producers adequately.
Of course. Well, you've been a friend and a mentor and somebody I've looked up to in the mineral world for a long time. So thank you.
You betcha, Phil.